And then just to cover all my bases, I'm also going to tell you about what I'm going to do in the future, especially for this district. I did not grow up here. I actually grew up in Ohio. I grew up living in low-income housing in an apartment in Ohio. My mom was a secretary during the day, and she worked at a car dealership at night. And my stepdad worked at a steel factory. When it was time for me to go to college, I wanted to go to college, and my mom said, "You can't go because we can't afford it." So actually it was my stepdad, Ernie, who cashed in part of his retirement to help me pay for that first year of college. And that changed the entire course of my future. I did go to college. I got a bachelor's degree in political science. And then I joined the Navy, and I spent 7 years on active duty as a naval intelligence officer. I deployed on an aircraft carrier to the Middle East. And then I came to Monterey to go to the Naval Postgraduate School. I got my master's degree in national security affairs. And then I went to Hawaii. I worked the night shift in Hawaii, and during the day, I went to the University of Hawaii and got a PhD in political science. I also worked for the State Department. I got out of the Navy after 7 years and went to work at the U.S. Embassy in Hanoi as the Chief of Staff to the U.S. Ambassador. And then my husband and I came back to Monterey County, and I got a job teaching at the Naval Postgraduate School. And for about 7 years, I have taught there, teaching U.S. foreign policy and national security decision-making. In 2012, I ran for the Pacific Grove City Council, and I currently sit on the Pacific Grove City Council. And last year, I decided I want to run for Congress. I want to run for Congress because I have this interest in national policy. I have 15 years of experience in national policy, both in teaching and in implementing foreign policy. And one of the key themes that comes up at every meeting I go to, of course, people talk about water, people talk about our road infrastructure, people talk about the need for immigration reform. But there is a larger problem, a larger overarching theme that comes up in every meeting, and it already came up today. And that is that businesses in this state and in this county are being crushed by regulations. And I believe that if you have a thriving economy and you have successful businesses, then all of those other problems can be taken care of. You can achieve the right workforce and affordable housing. You can have money for road repairs and for education investments. But if you don't have successful businesses and you don't have a thriving economy, then those problems will continue to persist. And that's what we have seen for 40 years in this district. We haven't had the investments in our roads that we need. We haven't had the investments in education. We haven't had new water infrastructure and new water sources, and we haven't had immigration reform. Those are the issues that constantly come up. But it starts with, as Mark said, getting government out of the way. When it comes to immigration, there are actually 5 agencies involved in issuing the H-2A visas, which make it very cumbersome and very expensive for employers and agriculture to get the visas that they need. We need to get the federal government out of that process. Of course, it's a federal issue, but it should be a labor issue. The Department of Labor could issue the H-2A visas, and that way you really make it a workforce and labor issue and not an immigration issue. On water, we have 9 federal agencies that are involved in our local water permits. Any local water project needs a permit, and there are 9 federal agencies that are involved in that, including the EPA because of the Endangered Species Act, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers because of their new Waters of the U.S. rule. There's the U.S. Marine Fisheries. There are all of these federal agencies that are taking away the autonomy and the authority of our local government and our local water districts and water agencies. What I want to do when I go to Washington is I want to help support businesses, create a thriving economy, and ensure that our businesses are successful so that we can make those investments in our roads and education, so that we can achieve immigration reform and that we can get these problems under control. If we continue on the status quo, I'm afraid we're just going to continue to see businesses leaving California, and we've already had 7,000 businesses leave California just in the last year. Thank you.
Thanks, Casey. Question for Casey.